Chapter 13. Small Sam was curled up in a ball. He had made himself as titchy as he could. He was inside an empty water tank in the loft of a house somewhere near Finsbury Park. He was sharing the space with several dead and rotting pigeons. They gave off a choking smell that caught in his throat and made his eyes sting. But he hoped the smell would hide his own smell, hoped it would keep the grown-ups away. So far, it was working. He had been here all night, waiting, listening. It was almost like being back in the sack again. The last few hours had been a blur and he was exhausted. He'd been chased down the stairs at the stadium by 3 grown-ups. 2 of them had been on fire. They hadn't made it to the bottom of the stairs, and Sam had managed to lose the 3rd one in the maze of concrete corridors and walkways behind the stands. But he had also got lost himself. At one point he found himself running across the pitch, with several bewildered grown-ups watching from the seating. Eventually, though, he had found a way out, and as he ran off he'd looked back to see the whole of the top of the stadium on fire. A tower of flames reached up into the night sky. He wondered how many of the grown-ups would burn, and it made him happy. His happiness had been short-lived, however, because he realised that he didn't really know where he was, or how to get back to the Holloway Road. He had wandered the streets for ages and had somehow ended up in Finsbury Park. He'd heard the older kids talking about Finsbury Park. They never came up this way. It was too dangerous. There were too many grown-ups and lots of the buildings had been damaged by fire. He had an idea that the Seven Sisters Road would take him back to Holloway, but he wasn't sure which way he should go. While he had been standing there trying to decide, he'd been ambushed by another bunch of grown-ups. Luckily he heard them coming as they stumbled about clumsily in the dark, and he got away, ducking and scurrying and crawling through derelict gardens. At one point one of them grabbed hold of him in the dark, but he stabbed the butterfly pin hard into its hand, and it dropped him like a burning coal. In the end, tired of running, he'd broken into a house and made his way up into the loft, where he had found the empty water tank. As he lay there through the long hours of darkness, he cheered himself up by imagining what the others would say when he got back to Waitrose. "Sam, you're alive! Nobody's ever done that before, man! You're a hero! Tell us about it. How many did you kill?" He pictured them all crowded round him, asking questions, patting him on the back, smiling. The kids at the supermarket were his new family now, the biggest family a boy could hope for. Maybe they would even break out some of the sweets they kept for emergencies as a special treat. Sam loved sweets. They were the thing he missed most in the whole world. So he had drifted in and out of sleep, in and out of dreams, curled up on the bottom of the water tank, surrounded by dead pigeons. It was light now. It had been light for some time. He had watched the bright sun wake up and peep through the cracks in the roof where the tiles were missing or broken. Somewhere nearby a live pigeon was cooing, and he found the sound comforting. But he was hungry and he was thirsty, and he longed to be safely back at Waitrose. He uncurled himself and shifted into a crouch, his leg muscles shaking and weak, his knees and back stiff. He peered over the edge of the tank, not knowing what he might see. Just a loft, full of dust and cobwebs and a few sagging cardboard boxes. No grown-ups. It was safe to leave. He would have to check every step of the way from now on, though. He couldn't afford to make any more mistakes. He'd been lucky to get away twice. He doubted that his luck would hold out much longer. And it was easier at night. There would be more grown-ups about now that it was daytime. He told himself that it was just a game. He'd always been good at hiding. Hide-and-seek had been one of his favourite things to play. It had been scary when he'd played with his dad. His dad was big and would make monster noises. These grown-ups were just the same. They were like his dad. All he had to do was keep out of their way. He went to the opening in the loft floor that he had climbed up through earlier, lay down on his belly, and lowered his head until he could see the landing below properly. It was all quiet. He slid down the ladder and crept along the landing to the window at the end. It led out onto a small flat roof. The street looked empty. He opened the window and crawled out, keeping low, keeping small. He had a pretty good view of the street from here. He looked to left and right. There was no movement at all. No wind in the trees, no birds flying, no animals moving about, no grown-ups. He climbed down off the roof. It was then that he saw the bicycle, leaning against a row of wheelie bins in the front garden. It looked undamaged. He knelt down and checked it out. The chain was still in one piece, but the tyres were nearly flat. There was just enough air in them, though, to be able to ride it. It would get him as far as Waitrose at least. He pushed it out of the garden and into the road. There was still nobody around. He climbed into the saddle and started to pedal. It was hard work. The bike seemed to be stuck in a high gear. It was moving, though. He pedalled harder, building up speed. The bike creaked and groaned and complained, but he kept at it, wobbling along like he was drunk. He'd been confused last night, but finding the bike had given him fresh confidence. All he had to do was follow the road signs to Holloway, and he'd be all right. He turned left into the Seven Sisters Road and cycled on. The squashy tyres made the bike unsteady and difficult to steer, but he was still going much faster than he would be if he was walking. For the first time in 24 hours, he smiled. It was a sunny day. The streets were clear. He was zooming along on his new bike. Well, not quite zooming, more wobbling perhaps, but it didn't matter. He was going home. Once again he imagined the look of amazement on the faces of his friends. "A bike, Sam? You found a bike! Well done, you're the coolest! King of the streets!" Then he heard footsteps behind him. He looked back. There was a grown-up following him, a lone father, loping along on stiff legs, panting with the effort. As Sam watched, another grown-up joined him, a mother this time, her hair tied up in a big untidy knot on top of her head. Then another and another. They were coming out of the streets on either side. Sam had to keep glancing back and then looking ahead to make sure he didn't hit something. There were cars abandoned all over the roads, and you had to be careful or you'd crash into one. More and more grown-ups were pouring into the road, half running, half walking. Sam skidded round a van and saw two ugly fathers coming at him from the front, one on either side in a pincer movement. He sped up even more and just managed to squeeze between them as they made a lunge for him. He careered all over the road, out of control, then stood up in the pedals and pumped them as hard as he could. It was about as fast as the bike would go on these rubbish tyres, and he was scared it wasn't fast enough. He had never cycled so hard in his life. His lungs were on fire, his heart trying to punch its way out through his ribcage. Before, he had thought that he was flying along, but now he seemed to be moving in slow motion. "Come on, come on!" He realised there were tears streaming down his face. His happy dream of being welcomed home as a hero was in tatters. Nobody would ever know what he had gone through last night. Nobody would know about the battle at the stadium, the giant's beard on fire, his escape across the pitch, hiding in the water tank. It had all been for nothing. Nothing. No, damn them. He wasn't going to let them catch him. He was Sam the Giant Slayer. He was going to escape. Then, as if in answer to an unspoken prayer, the road began to slope gently downwards, and he picked up speed, still pedalling furiously. When he next looked back, the grown-ups had fallen behind. Yes! He was getting away. "See you, losers!" On he went, his legs like jelly, and each time he looked behind him, the grown-ups were further away. He whooped! He screamed! He was Sam the hero again. By the time he hit the Holloway Road, he was alone. He'd lost sight of the shambling idiots. They were probably still following him, but they'd be ages getting here. He had plenty of time to get inside. There it was. Waitrose, his home. The lookouts on the roof would have spotted him already. He waved, but couldn't see anyone. Maybe they were already at the speaking tube, sending orders to the kids below. "You'll never believe it. It's Sam, riding a wonky bike like a crazy kid." Maybe the doors would open up for him as he arrived. He cycled up to the front of the shop and jumped off his bike. He couldn't hear anyone inside. "Hey!" He pulled the chain that rang a big bell above the shop floor, pulling and pulling and pulling. "Open up!" he yelled. "It's me, Sam, I'm back!" Nothing. What was taking them so long? "Oi, you lot, it's me! Let me in!" He stopped shouting and listened. He couldn't hear anything. He pulled the chain again. Maybe it was broken. No, he was sure he could hear the bell ringing in the shop. So why was nobody coming? He stepped back and went over to the window to try to see inside, but all the shutters and barricades were up. He banged on the glass, shouted again. He huffed. This wasn't how he'd pictured it at all. Something caught his eye, and he turned to look back the way he had come. Bodies walking. His heart lifted for a brief moment. It must be a scav party returning. They'd get him in. They were too big, though. Too slow. And there were too many of them. Tears sprang back into his eyes. Why had he lied to himself? It was the grown-ups who had chased him down the Seven Sisters Road. They must have carried on, doggedly following his trail, and now they were shuffling nearer. He ran back to the door and tugged at the bell pull, screaming at the top of his voice, "Let me in! Let me in! Let me in!" The grown-ups heard him and broke into a lazy jog. They weren't exactly hurrying, though. Why would they need to? They'd catch up with him in the end.